You sign swear firm testimony about to give this man's truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please be seated. Before we begin the examination, you may be seated. Thank you so much. Inevitably, in trials, as much as we try, real life issues seep through. I had to get my tire repaired from yesterday, and Mr. Thomas has an eye appointment that is critical that he attend to tomorrow. So we're going to go through lunch. We're going to go straight through to 2 o'clock, okay? You will not be able to have a bathroom break, a breathing break. Look at your number 13 up there. But we're going to go straight through to 2 o'clock. But what we're going to do today, we're going to go to 4:15. Ideally, and I can't say that this is true, there's a great chance, we don't go on Friday, that we will be concluding with everything by Monday or Tuesday of next week. So we're doing wonderfully, okay? You may proceed, state your name for the record, witness spelling your first and last.
Sean Kreitzer, SHAWN, KRITZER.
Very good. You may proceed, Counsel.
Sir, what is your occupation?
Police officer.
I see.
That microphone a little bit up. Yeah. Yes, sir. Please. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
And what is your rank?
Sergeant.
And sir, I'm going to address your attention to January 28th, 2015, and ask you, were you an officer at that time?
Yes, sir.
Were you an Inkster police officer?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember at about 9:45 being alerted to a potential problem in Inkster?
Yes, sir.
Will you tell the jury what it is that you did at that time?
I was actually picking up dinner at Gracie's, and Officer Melendez, Unit 155, called out one not stopping.
As a result of that, what did you do?
I left Gracie's and headed his way.
And did you know where he was?
Yes.
And how did you know that?
He gave location.
And how far away were you?
About a half a mile.
And were you alone in your vehicle that day?
Yes, sir.
What equipment did you have with you?
Sir?
Did you have a gun?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any other device?
Yes, a taser.
And this was a taser. Was this taser a taser that had been administered to you from the Inkster Police Department?
It's signed out per shift, sir.
And did you sign out for it that night?
Yes, sir.
What did you do once you got in your car? Once you got in your car after you heard Officer Melendez?
Headed towards him.
And how long did it take you to get there?
Approximately 20 seconds.
Okay. And what did you see once you got there?
I saw Mr. Floyd Dent on the ground, Officer Melendez on the ground, and auxiliary.
Can I help you? May I lead you,
Zelenuski, with Mr. Dent's left arm.
When your car pulled up, where did you pull up?
I pulled up just to the left of them.
When you say them, you mean the people that were on the ground?
Mr. Dent's Cadillac, Officer Melendez, my car.
Okay. Now, did you use emergency lights to get there?
Yes.
Was your video working?
Yes, sir.
And that video, you reviewed that video?
Yes, sir.
Prior to coming here today, did you review any other videos?
Yes, I've seen Officer Melendez's video from the car too.
Did you prepare a report?
Yes, I did.
Keep your voice.
Okay.
And did you review your report?
Yes, sir.
Now, what I'd like to do is ask you a few questions about what it is that you observed when you first got there. When you're in the car, are you able to determine who it is that is there?
As I'm pulling up?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And are they the people that you've described? Is there any more people other than that there?
Not at that time.
So were you the first one that arrived on the scene once the call-out was made by Officer Melendez?
Yes.
And I need you to describe now to the jury what it is that you saw.
I seen Officer Melendez and the auxiliary trying to get Mr. Dent into custody.
All right. Were you there when the person who was struggling with Officer Melendez and Zelenowski. Were you there when he was struck in the head?
No.
Once you got there, what did you see? Please describe it as best you can for the jury.
Mr. Dent resisting arrest.
Okay, that's a conclusion. What was he doing, in your view, to resist arrest?
He wasn't given his hands so that he could be handcuffed.
Was anybody saying anything to him at that time?
I don't recall.
Was he being asked to show his hands, if you know?
I don't know.
All right. What then did you do?
And got out of my patrol car and went to help them.
And when you did that, did you jump on top of Mr. Dent?
No, sir.
What did you do?
I tried to help with the hand, the left arm up that was up, and it wasn't coming behind his back, so I took the prong part of the taser off and drive stunned Mr. Dent.
Okay. Now, we've heard a little bit about the tasers. What is a dry stun?
Drive stun?
That's a D-R-I-V-E stun.
Yes, sir.
I've been calling it the wrong way. What is it?
When you pull the trigger on the taser, there's two metal pieces on the end and an arc of electricity goes back and forth, and you push it into the subject to get them to comply.
How long was it that Mr. Dent was struggling, or you said resisting, before you employed that stun, the first one?
When I first got there, not very long at all.
Was it, well, why would you stun him at that point?
Because they were unable to get him in cuffs.
Was his hands handcuffed at that time?
One was, the left arm.
And what about the right arm? Did you see what he was doing with his right?
It was underneath him, I could not see.
Okay. You, as a police officer, are trained to observe what's going on. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. In your observation, what is the potential for harm with a person who is not showing his hands in a situation such as that?
They're trying to conceal something or reach for a weapon.
Is that a concern that you would have as a reasonable police officer?
Yes.
And you had arrived after Mr. Melendez. You don't know what happened before he was there, but Officer Melendez had not struck him in the head.
Not while I was there, no.
When you stunned him, what was his body position?
He was... Where did I stun him, or how was it?
Yes.
The very first time was, I believe, the stomach area.
Okay. And what was his body position at the time that he stunned you? Is this something that you would want to... Well, go ahead. Can you tell me?
He was laying on his right side, and I drive stunned him in the stomach, and he slapped my taser away.
Okay. In your experience, is that common that people slap away the device that is using the electricity to stun him?
No, sir.
Why is that?
Because it disrupts the nervous system and basically makes all your muscles lock up.
Did you get a good contact with him on the first stun?
Yes, sir.
Did his arms lock up?
No.
What, if anything, did he do after you stunned him?
After I stunned him, he pushed the taser away.
Did you find it necessary to stun him again?
Yes, sir.
Why?
To see if I could get a better contact.
Well, had he stopped struggling again?
No, he had not. He was still not complying.
Okay, and the second stun, where was that?
That one was in his thigh.
In his thigh.
Yes.
Did you have good contact on that drive with his thigh?
Yes.
And what did he do?
He slapped it away again.
Would you have expected that he would have been stunned and his arms locked up based on your experience?
Yes.
But he did not.
No.
Did he continue to struggle?
Yes, he did.
And did he then employ the stun gun the third time?
Yes.
And what happened then?
I had no contact on that one.
Okay. That was a failed attempt?
I had turned it on and pulled the trigger before I touched him, and I didn't touch him with it.
Was there a subsequent stun?
Yes, there was a fourth one.
So, all right, 3 or 4 did you do?
3 with contact, touched it off 4 times.
Between the 3rd and the 4th, was he continuing to struggle?
Yes.
Did his arms tense up at all prior to the stunning of him with the 4th time?
Prior to the stunning? No.
What happened on that occasion?
On the 4th one, I retried the stomach and leaned into it, and actually he rolled over onto his stomach.
Do you know whether or not any other officers had arrived on the scene after you had arrived, but before you had completed the last stunning event?
Not without seeing the video again.
Okay. I'd like to have him see the video so that he can refresh his recollection.
Here.
And where I want to go. Let's do 2159. Please. Can we make it bigger, please, and then call out the time? Ma'am? 2159? Where are we?
21:58:59.
Okay, close enough. Can we make it larger? Stop, please. Call it out.
21:59:06.
All right, are you on the scene at this point yet?
No, sir.
Would you have had your headlights on at the time that you drove up?
Yes.
And emergency lights as well?
Yes.
You see any headlights or emergency lights at that time?
No.
And who do you see? Can you identify the 2 people that are there?
There's 3 people there, sir.
Yes.
Officer Melendez, Auxiliary Zelenowski, and Mr. Dent.
Okay. Can you now play it again, please? Call out when you get there. You see the strikes?
Yes.
Okay. Are you there when that happens?
No.
Okay. Have the strikes stopped?
Yes.
What do you see?
Auxiliary Zelenowski struggling to get that hand back. Him keep pulling his hand away. There I am right there. That's me.
And who is it?
That's Auxiliary Loudon.
What do you do here?
There's in the stomach,
Go ahead.
in the thigh.
You see them take effect?
And there's the one that makes him roll over.
Continue. Tell me when his hands are handcuffed if you can. Can you stop it here, please? Can you call out the time, please?
22:00:28.
All right. Do you see everybody getting up?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree that a period of time passed between the time that you arrived and stunned him and he was actually subdued and his hands were handcuffed?
Yes, sir.
it was not only after Officer Melendez had stopped hitting him in the head, but it was also, he continued to struggle even after you had tased him. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Why was it necessary to tase him? We can turn the lights back up, Judge.
Turn the lights back on.
Sergeant Kreitzer?
Yes, sir.
The question is, why is it that you found it necessary to tase him?
He was under arrest, and we needed to get him in cuffs to stop the threat.
Have you arrested people before?
Yes, sir.
Have you tased people before?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Dent appear to be more or less strong than people typically are when they're resisting arrest?
More strong, sir.
And what is it that makes you say that?
His ability to push the taser away.
In the end, we saw a scene where there were several officers on the scene. Did you count them?
No, I didn't.
Certainly, it was more than you, Officer Melendez, and Officer Zielinski. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Did you see him continue to struggle after you had stunned him?
Yes, sir.
And did other officers then have to get on top of him in order to subdue him?
Yes, sir.
Did he continue to struggle then?
Yes, sir.
When you got back to the station, did you have an opportunity to talk to Mr. Melendez?
Yes, sir.
Were you in the station with him when he showed you anything?
Yes.
Were you the sergeant in charge of the scene at the time?
Yes, sir.
Did he report to you anything?
I'm going to object here,
Sustained.
So it's just a yes. Don't tell me what he
Okay,
said.
yes, okay, I overruled.
but he's 3 times, this will be the 3rd time he's tried that.
Okay, very good. Go ahead, just don't say what he said, go ahead.
Yes.
You repeat the question?
Did he report anything to you?
Yes, sir.
Was it that night?
Yes, sir.
Did he show you anything consistent with that report?
Yes, sir.
What did you observe?
I observed redness on his left arm in a oval shape between the elbow and the wrist.
Were you aware of whether or not Officer Melendez was wearing anything that night?
Yes, about 4 layers of clothes.
Was it warm or cold outside?
Very cold.
And those red marks were on the skin. Did you observe his skin?
Yes.
Did you observe the red marks?
Yes.
Did you observe any officers searching the vehicle that Mr. Dent was reported to be in?
There were officers by the vehicle, yes.
I got a better question. Did you search the vehicle?
No, sir.
I have nothing further to offer, prosecutor.
Cross-examination.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
You and I met once before, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How long have you known Officer Melendez?
I don't recall what year he got to Inkster.
And it's been years, you would agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. And have you ever worked with him as a partner or rode in the car together or anything like that?
He's on my shift, sir.
Okay. When you say that, what does that mean to the jury?
I'm the sergeant, one of the 2 sergeants on the shift, and he was a patrolman on my shift.
Okay. The 2 of you never shared a car together?
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not sure. We ride with people all the time.
Okay. On this particular night, you've already testified that you didn't see the blows that he inflicted on Mr. John. Is that correct?
Live at the scene?
Correct.
Yes, this is correct.
When you got there, you described him as struggling. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And actually, you adopted the word that Mr. Thomas was using, struggle, correct?
I believe the first time we met, I said struggle also, sir.
And when you say struggle, are you saying he was hitting somebody? Was Mr. Dent punching or striking at anybody?
He was trying to get away.
No. Can you answer the question I asked?
Well, Judge, I'm sorry. That was an answer, and I'd ask that you take.
Sustain. Go ahead, move on.
You remember the question I asked you?
No, one more time.
Did he strike at anybody?
I can't speak for everybody. He didn't strike at me other than when he pushed my taser away, sir.
And you didn't see him do it to anybody else, did you?
No,
You didn't see him kick at anybody, did you?
no,
And, sir, have you ever been punched in the head?
yes,
Ever been punched in the head 16 times in a row and you didn't have a chance to respond?
no.
When you got punched in the head, did it have an impact on what you did and how you perceived things?
Well, okay.
Well, I'll ask you a different one. When you get punched, it hurts, would you agree?
Yes,
When you get punched in the head, it can scramble up your thinking. Would you agree with that?
possibly.
Right. Particularly if it's like 16 times in a row, is that right?
I don't know. I've never been hit 16 times, sir.
One could do it, right?
Yep, one could do it.
And sir, when somebody getting punched, would it be a natural reaction to try to cover?
Yes,
So pulling your arms and trying to cover up from being punched isn't struggling, isn't it? That's covering, isn't it?
No objection.
Overruled.
What are we talking? Are we talking about him
Oh,
interpreting?
sustain, just rephrase.
It's a natural human reaction when you're getting punched in the head to pull your arms up and protect yourself. Is that right?
yes,
Right. Boxers do it all the time. They put their hands up by their head when they're getting punched, don't they?
correct.
Did you see Officer Melendez strangling Mr. Dent?
No, sir.
Did you ever see him with his arm around his throat, torquing on his body?
No, sir.
You never saw that?
His arm was across his face.
So you're saying at no point can you see Mr. Dent's teeth and Mr. Melendez's arm under his chin? You're saying you can't see that?
Well, are we talking about in the video or what it is that he perceived? when he
Sustain,
was out there, Judge?
rephrase.
Did you see that?
Did I see what, sir?
Mr. Dent's teeth showing in the video while Mr. Melendez's arm was under his chin. Did you see that?
It may have slipped down there while he was struggling with them.
Okay. It may have slipped down to his throat area, correct?
Well, now
Possible.
we're speculating.
Overruled.
You said he pushed the taser away, is that right?
Yes,
You said you got tased at some point?
that day.
No, ever.
Oh yeah, I had to when I got certified.
Right. And you wanted to push that taser away when you got tased, didn't you?
I had no.
Yes or no, answer the question.
What's the question one more time?
Sure. If you had a choice, you wouldn't have got tased, would you?
No, sir.
Right. And if you could have stopped it by pushing it away, given different circumstances, you would have done so, wouldn't you?
Because I couldn't.
Okay. Well, Mr. Dent could, is that right?
Yes, he could.
Does everybody react to being tased exactly the same?
No,
And you don't know what Mr. Dent's mental condition was after having all those blows to the head, do you?
no,
Could that explain how he was reacting to all of this?
yes.
Where were you at the station when Officer Melendez showed you his injury?
In the hallway.
And who else was present?
I believe just me and him.
Were you in the squad room when he showed you his arm?
The hallway outside the squad room.
And are there cameras there?
No.
So the only place in the station with no cameras is where he showed this to you?
No, it's not the only place in the station, sir. There's no cameras on a lot of the station.
But this didn't happen to get captured by the cameras. You'd agree with that?
Yes.
Is the first time you've ever described this wound to us, to the police, as an oval wound? Today?
Us. I don't know what that means, Judge.
The-
This jury's only been convened during this case. Mr. Donaldson.
I'll ask it a different
We
way.
didn't ask for opening statement or closing. Overruled. Answer the question.
First time you told me that
First time I told you what, sir?
this was an oval wound,
It was round, ovalish, yes.
but is that the first time you used that descriptor, that word?
I'd have to see the original time that we talked.
Of the investigative subpoena. Sir, I'm going to approach you, I'm handing you what's your testimony from the investigative subpoena. And have you had a chance to look at this before you came down here?
Yes.
And you read it?
Yes.
Okay. 27, I think, is where we're looking.
27.
The only descriptor you use is small reddish mark. Would you agree with that?
Witness?
Yes.
And I was asking you whether it looked like when my kids bite each other. Is that right?
Well, I hope they're not doing that now. Go ahead.
Don't we have one in the courtroom, Judge?
Yes.
He's the one that got
No,
that.
that's his son. That's not you. Okay, go ahead. All right, go ahead. But is that how you describe yourself?
Yes, it was redness with no skin breakage. It was small, so it could have been. That's what I said.
You've seen the video of this, right? You just saw it, is that right?
Yes, sir.
You see anything on that video that would justify the 16 blows to the head?
Well, now, here we go. Is he going to be qualified as an expert? Isn't that the question for the jury? When I have my witnesses, didn't you
I
object?
said yes. It's the same.
Judge, he has asked Officer Yost, or the former Officer Yost, over and over what a reasonable police officer would do.
Okay, just
under these
rephrase it.
circumstances.
Rephrase it.
You think you're a reasonable police officer?
Yes.
Would you have struck him 16 times in the head?
That's not the question.
Counsel, that's improper. Go ahead.
Do you think that those 16 blows were reasonable?
Considering what facts, Your Honor, give him the hypothetical.
It's the same. I don't want to go in. This is for the trial fact. I'm going to allow them to make that decision.
I want them to, I just
But
don't.
ask another question another way.
You saw 16 blows, is that correct, to the head?
Yes.
Did you see anything that caused that to happen in the video?
Yes.
What did you see that caused that to happen in the video?
His mouth against Mr. Melendez's arm.
So if his mouth was against Mr. Melendez's arm, that justifies 16 blows.
If he was biting him,
Right? You
People's-
said differently before, have you not?
I said I don't know if I would have struck him that many times, but I wasn't the one being bitten either.
And you, sir, also said that it wasn't reasonable, did you not?
What page is that on? Let's look.
right, did you ever say that it was slightly excessive? 24.
Yes, I did say that.
Requested in reviewing that as a sergeant, what was your opinion of that? Question by me.
It's redundant, he's already answered it. So
Overruled.
Answer, slightly excessive. Like I said, I wouldn't have hit him that many times. Is that the question and the answer?
Yes.
And you know, sir, that as of this moment in time, there is no evidence in this record that Sergeant Melendez got hit.
Objection. He just
Sustain,
testified.
sustain, that's improper. For this witness to speculate on what's been presented here, he doesn't know he's been sequestered, so that's improper.
So you're testifying to what he told you, right?
I'm testifying to what I seen.
No, and what he told you.
Well, which is it? Is it what he told you and what he saw, or is it what he told you?
I think it's my turn.
I do too.
All right, objection, it's a
The
compound
witness,
question.
we'll let the witness attempt, and can you answer the question as phrased, witness?
Which one would you like me to answer first?
Okay, go ahead. Rephrase the question, I said.
You talked to Officer Melendez?
Did I talk to him?
This event?
Yeah,
When was the last time you talked to him?
maybe a month ago.
And you talked about this case, is that right?
Actually, I was getting my watch repaired.
You didn't talk about this case?
No?
Have you talked about this case?
With Officer Melendez? No.
Never?
No.
You talked to him that night?
This is correct. I thought you meant since that night.
So it never came up between the two of you since the 28th day of January until today?
Correct.
You never spoke?
Not about the case.
It never comes up?
Well, Judge, I thought he'd already answered.
Oh, well, go ahead, answer that.
Pretty big deal at the Inkster Police Department and in yours and his life, correct?
We didn't talk about the case.
Nothing further.
Redirect.
As a result of the cross-examination, you were asked some questions. Do you remember the questions relating to the first time that you ever said anything about something oval?
Yes.
Were you at the prosecutor's subpoena on March the 31st, 2015?
Yes, sir.
Had you been required to appear there?
Yes, sir.
Were you sworn under oath?
Yes, sir.
Were there, how many people were in the room with you when you were sworn under oath? Do you remember who was there? Was Detective Sergeant Powell there?
Yes.
At that time, now Sergeant, now new Lieutenant. Was Mr. Donaldson there?
Yes.
Was Mr. Del Franco there?
I believe so.
Was there a short, squat female prosecutor there as well? Do you remember her name?
No, I don't.
Okay, was there another person there that would fit that description?
That was 8 months ago, sir.
Okay. Were you required to answer their questions?
Yes.
You had no choice but to answer their questions.
Yes.
You testified truthfully.
Yes.
Were you asked the question by the way, you didn't take a lawyer with you either, did you?
No, I didn't, sir.
Did they show you your reports before you went there? Did they show you any pieces of paper before you went in there to give you a chance to refresh your recollection about what it is that you were going to talk about?
I believe he did let me see my report, yes.
Now, on page 27, you testified about your description of what it is that you saw from Officer Melendez. Is that right?
Page 27.
You have your, yes.
Yes.
Okay, you need to review that to refresh your recollection? contradiction about the first time that you ever said that it was oval in shape?
Yes.
Think that the prosecutor was trying to impeach your credibility because it's the first time that you testified about whether or not it was oval in shape?
Yes.
When he was questioning you, he was asking you questions under oath, and you were answering his questions under oath. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you asked the question by Mr. Donaldson on page 27, line 17? Just describe the redness you were talking about. Did you see like teeth marks, like my kids bite each other and you can see the teeth and stuff? What it is that you were seeing? Did you hear that question?
Yes.
Was that the question that was asked?
Yes.
And what was your response?
It was redness. There was no skin breakage.
And then did he follow it up with another question because not satisfied with that, he wanted to ask you further. Did he ask you another question?
Yes, he did.
And did you understand his question? Did you understand the question that was asked?
Yes.
And did he ask you, was it in the shape of a mouth or was it just red? And did you answer, it was small, so it could have been yes? Were you answering the question to the shape of the mouth that he asked you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, whether you said oval or not, were you trying to tell him that you saw that there was a bite
Your
mark
Honor,
on the arm of Melendez?
The testimony speaks for itself.
Well, I don't know about that. because
What he
of
meant doesn't
cross-examination.
Overruled.
Did you hear my question?
Can you repeat it?
You were trying to convey the message that you'd seen a bite mark,
Yes, sir.
and that the redness and the shape, like a mouth, was what it is that you observed.
Yes, sir.
And you saw it that night, just after you got back to the police station.
Yes, sir.
And Melendez showed it to you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You were on the scene. You tased Mr. Dent 3 times.
Yes.
Was it necessary for you to tase him 3 times?
I'm going to object whether it was necessary.
Overruled, you did suspend, go ahead. Overruled.
Yes.
Was it reasonable for you to do that under the circumstances?
Yes, sir.
Was that because he was continuing to struggle?
Yes.
Was that because he was continuing to resist?
Yes.
And his arms still weren't going back behind his back?
This is true, yes.
Okay. When somebody is given a lawful order to put their hands behind the back, what are they supposed to do?
Put their hands behind their back.
And what does a reasonable officer do in the event that they see that happen?
Reasonable officer puts cuffs on him and it's done.
What if he struggles and he doesn't do it?
Then you do what you need to do to effect the rest and put the cuffs on.
Do you know what the use of force continuum is?
Yes.
You understand the concept of stepping up the level of your response to the response that is given to you from the person who you're trying to subdue and arrest?
Yes.
Would you consider that if the person was continuing to struggle, at that point then you would hit him?
Yes.
Now, you had testified just previously on cross-examination that you thought it might be excessive. All right? If he continued to struggle, would you hit him again?
Yes.
If he continued to struggle, would you hit him again?
Yes, or change up and go one up.
You'd go 1 up. What would you do to go 1 up if you're hitting him?
I'd tase him.
What, Officer Melendez didn't have a taser.
This is correct.
Okay. So what would you do if he continued to struggle?
Continue hitting him.
All right. Now, you saw the video, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You saw Mr. Melendez stop hitting him at some point.
Yes.
He continued to struggle, didn't he?
Yes.
And that's when you were on the scene. That's what you saw.
Yes, I didn't see him the first part.
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about you got on the scene.
When I got on the scene.
Melendez stopped, he's continuing to struggle.
Yes.
Right? Did he ever stop struggling?
I believe when they finally standed him up while he was in cuffs.
All right. Did you ever see him lose consciousness at any point in time?
No, sir.
You were right there with your face in it. Did you see him stop breathing?
No, sir.
Did you see him complain about being choked out?
No, sir.
All right. And when he got up, did he walk away under cuffs?
Yes.
You weren't bit.
No, sir.
All right. You weren't in a position to be bit, were you?
No, sir.
All right. The decision whether or not to hit was not your decision. That was Officer Melendez's based on what he was experiencing. Would you agree?
This is correct.
That all goes into the concept of what a reasonable officer would do, correct?
Yes.
But when Mr. Dent stopped, okay, I'm sorry, when Officer Melendez had stopped striking Mr. Dent, and he continued to strike, continued to struggle, continued to struggle, you decided that you would do something, correct?
Yes.
Was your use of force, was Arnica driving when you first got the alert that Mr. Dent, it turns out to be Mr. Dent, was involved with Mr. Melendez?
Yes.
All right. And did you hear a broadcast on the radio?
I did.
And what did you do as a result of that broadcast?
I instructed Officer Arnica to respond to the area of South River Park.
Why would you tell her?
She was driving.
Okay.
Yes, or change up and go one up.
You'd go one up. What would you do to go one up if you're hitting him?
I'd tase him.
What, Officer Melendez didn't have a taser.
This is correct.
Okay. So what would you do if he continued to struggle?
Continue hitting him.
All right. Now, you saw the video, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You saw Mr. Melendez stop hitting him at some point.
Yes.
He continued to struggle, didn't he?
Yes.
And that's when you were on the scene. That's what you saw.
Yes, I didn't see him the first part.
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about you got on the scene.
When I got on the scene.
Melendez stopped. He's continuing to struggle.
Yes.
Right? Did he ever stop struggling?
I believe when they finally standed him up while he was in cuffs.
All right. Did you ever see him lose consciousness at any point in time?
No, sir.
You were right there with your face in it. Did you see him stop breathing?
No, sir.
Did you see him complain about being choked out?
No, sir.
All right. And when he got up, did he walk away under cuffs?
Yes.
You weren't bit.
No, sir.
All right. You weren't in a position to be bit, were you?
No, sir.
All right. The decision whether or not to hit was not your decision. That was Officer Melendez's based on what he was experiencing. Would you agree?
This is correct.
That all goes into the concept of what a reasonable officer would do, correct?
Yes.
But when Mr. Dent stopped, okay, I'm sorry, when Officer Melendez had stopped striking Mr. Dent, and he continued to strike, continued to struggle, continued to struggle, you decided that you would do something, correct?
Yes.
Was your use of force a step up from
I
striking
don't
him?
object. This isn't a step up from striking. He never saw the strike.
That, by the way,
Rephrase.
is a taser considered to be a device that is a step up from striking?
Yes.
Did you tase him?
Yes.
And you didn't just tase him once. You tased him again, right? And you tased him again.
Yes.
All right, now. Well, Mr. Dent, obviously, you saw Mr. Dent, you saw his size, correct?
Yes.
He's a big guy, right?
Yes.
You're a pretty big guy.
Yes.
When you were tased, were you able to push away the device?
No, sir.
Did it act in a fashion in which you think that it was designed, and that is to freeze up the arms?
Locks up all the muscles, yes.
Now, do you have any explanation for how it is that a person his size, his age, under the circumstances that you felt when you drive and stunned him with the taser, could possibly not be moving his arms in a spasmodic way in response to the taser?
He's asking for rank speculation.
Stand. Move on.
So when you were given cross-examination, you were talking about your subjective view of what it is that was excessive or not excessive as far as Melendez. Is that correct? You told him that you thought it was slightly excessive.
Yes,
You said that in the prosecutor's subpoena process, right?
yes, 8 months ago.
That's your point of view, right?
Yes,
You were talking about in the position of a reasonable officer who was experiencing what Mr. Melendez was experiencing. Isn't that correct?
yes,
You can't say whether or not it was excessive, can you?
The jury's going to decide
That's
that.
exactly my
Stay.
next question. That's up for the
Oh.
jury to decide.
Exactly. Oh, so that's not a state.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Anything further?
How big are you?
5'8", 250.
I know the correct.
Thank you, sir. Step down. Next witness.
This is Officer Philip Melendez.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear affirm testimony about to give this man the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please proceed to state your name, spelling first and last.
Sir, can you give your name for the record? Or did you already do that?
Not yet, sir.
All right, and what is your occupation?
Okay, my name's Philip Randazzo, Phillip. Last name Randazzo, Randazzo.
And sir, what is your occupation?
Sorry. I'm currently a police officer with the city of Inkster.
And on January 28th, 2015, you also an officer for the city of Inkster.
I was
And what was your job that night?
a road patrol officer.
You know Officer Melendez?
I do.
Did you work with him?
Yes, I have.
Have you worked with him for many years?
Oh, yes, since 2010.
Do you consider yourself close?
I do.
Did you lie for him?
No, sir.
That's up to the jury. Objection. Move to strike.
Overall.
Sir, were you assigned to patrol on the night of August 28th?
Yes, I was.
And how long had you been an officer in Inkster up until that time?
Since 1997.
And before then, were you employed in law enforcement?
I was with the Wayne County Sheriff's Department Jail Division.
And was that road patrol?
No, sir, was not.
Now, we've heard Lieutenant Powell talk about Michigan State Police that were assigned to the city of Detroit. Were you aware of what their job was?
Oh, yes, they're a support unit. I'm not too sure exactly what their title's called, but they're working throughout the state right now. I'm sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're assisting our department with crime prevention and crime deterrent by proactive patrol.
Did you ever see her out on the street?
No, sir.
Did you ever see her working in conjunction with Michigan State Police?
I have.
And what was her job besides the job that she now has?
She was assigned to the homicide task force.
And did you work with her at that point?
No, we never worked together, but we did cross paths on an occasion.
All right. That night, were you operating in a official vehicle for the city of Inkster?
I was.
And can you describe it, please?
Oh, yes, Patrol Vehicle 340. The housing unit's a fully marked vehicle with lights and sirens.
And who was driving the car that night?
My partner, Officer Arnica.
And is that Anastasia Arnica?
That is.
And was she the only female at the scene that night?
Yes.
What was her job that night?
What was her job that night? She was in training, and basically I was training her on how to be a police officer. She was trying to learn the streets that night.
Are field training officer?
I am.
Were you operating as a field training officer that night?
Yes, I was.
Was Arnica driving when you first got the alert that Mr. Dent, it turns out to be Mr. Dent, was involved with Mr. Melendez?
Yes.
All right. And did you hear a broadcast on the radio?
I did.
And what did you do as a result of that broadcast?
I instructed Officer Arnica to respond to the area of South River Park.
Why would you tell her?
She was driving.
Okay. And at the time that you heard the broadcast, what were you feeling?
Anxiety, anxious, a sense of urgency to get there.
Was she driving?
Yes, sir.
And you can't say what she was feeling, but did she get there directly?
Unfortunately, she actually drove past South River Park and had to do a U-turn on Inkster Road to make the scene.
So she didn't get there as quickly as you would have hoped.
Correct.
Fair to say that there's a high degree of tension going on when you hear a broadcast such as you heard?
Yes, sir.
And when you pulled up with her, where was your car positioned in relationship to Mr. Melendez's video, if you know?
We were approximately 20 to 30 feet west of Officer Melendez's vehicle.
Okay. And that west meaning it was pointing east or west?
I'm sorry, it was pointing east. Officer Melendez's vehicle was pointing west.
Officer Melendez's vehicle is pointing west. Your car is pointing east.
Correct.
And they're directly facing each other, is that right?
No, sir. They would not be directly facing each other. Our vehicle was pulled off to would be the right curb lane.
Okay.
Officer Melendez's vehicle was offset behind Mr. Dent's vehicle, which was pulled over to the left curb lane, or north curb lane.
Okay. When you arrived at the scene, did you get out of the car?
I did.
Did you see anything before you got out of the car?
Yes.
What did you see?
I seen officers struggling with Mr. Dent.
And who were the two officers that were struggling with Mr. Dent?
Actually, there were several officers. There was Officer Melendez, Auxiliary Officer Zelenowski, Sergeant Kreitzer, and Officer Ratliff.
Okay, Alex, I'm going to go to the scene of the stop again.
Cut the lights off.
Okay, thank you.
Leave the lights off.
How long did it take you to arrive at the scene?
Approximately a minute, maybe a minute and a half.
And let's, can you go back a little bit further? A little more, please. There. Is that bad? Okay. At this point, officer, can you call at the time?
It's 21:59:37.
Okay. At this point, 21:59:37 on Mr. Melendez's video from his car. Are you there yet?
No, sir.
Okay. Can we go forward then? And we'll go from here until he does arrive, and then we'll start. See Sergeant Kreitzer there?
I do.
Okay. You see a vehicle arriving at this point?
That would be my vehicle pulling up, sir.
Stop it, please. All right, at this point, who's there?
Officer Melendez, Auxiliary Officer Zelenowski, Sergeant Kreitzer, Officer Ratliff, and Auxiliary Officer Paul Loudon.
Is there any level of excitement at that point in time for you as you were arriving?
For myself, yes, sir.
And so then, did you get out of the vehicle?
I do.
Was your weapon drawn?
No, sir.
And what is it that you see? Obviously, we see something from a different perspective. What is it that you saw from your perspective as you were approaching from the other side?
What I observed was Officer Melendez laying on Mr. Dent's back and Auxiliary Officer Zelenowski trying to control Mr. Dent's left arm.
Okay. Is Mr. Dent unconscious at any time that you got?
No, sir.
Was he saying anything relating to his inability to breathe or the fact that he was choking?
No, sir.
Did you hear any spontaneous utterances from him?
No, I did not.
Did you hear any spontaneous utterances from the officers?
No, I did not.
Okay. At that point, they're trying to get his hands behind his back to handcuff him. Did you agree?
Yes, sir.
And, all right, can we move forward, please? We're at what time again?
21:59:52.
Thank you. Where are you and what are you doing?
That's me coming into the screen right there.
What, all right, stop there, please. What time are we at?
22:00:05.
All right, at that point, have you assessed what's going on?
I have.
What are you doing at this point?
I'm relieving Auxiliary Officer Zelensky from the control of the left hand.
Why are you doing that?
I don't believe he had control of that arm, and it looked like he was getting tired, and I could apprehend him.
What is it that you saw that made you come to the conclusion? Did he say he was tired?
No, sir.
Are you a ranking officer over him?
No, sir. Oh, yes, I am, sir.
Because he's an auxiliary officer. What observations did you have that led you to the conclusion that Officer Zelensky was now tired at this point in the sequence?
He didn't have any control over Mr. Dent's left arm, and it was waving back and forth, and he had a handcuff on it as well.
As far as Officer Zelensky himself, did you have the ability to observe his face?
No, I don't recall his face, sir.
All right. Did you have an ability to observe whether or not he was winded?
Yes.
And what did you see?
Actually, at that point, he looked very winded, and I told him to completely let go of Mr. Dent's left hand.
Just ask the council to stop leading the witness.
What did you do next?
At that point, I grabbed control of the handcuff and Mr. Dent's left arm, wrist.
Did Mr. Dent continue to struggle?
He did.
Did we note the time already?
22:00:05.
And may we go forward? As you can, explain what's going on.
Mr. Dent has got his right hand underneath his body. He's laying on his right side.
All right, stop, please. Did you happen to see your right foot come into contact with Mr. Dent's leg?
Actually, I kicked him in the right hand.
Okay. Was he moving his legs?
Yes, he was.
Was he continuing to move while we're struggling here?
Yes, he was.
And was he under control at this point?
No, sir.
All right. Continue, please.
For the record, that was 22:00:18.
Was that standing up?
That's one of the troopers. I don't know his name. That's Officer Ratliff standing up now. At this point, Mr. Dent is secured, and I pat Officer Melendez on the back to let him know that he's been secured.
We've heard that description of a tap on the back. What was the purpose of that?
Officer Melendez would have no knowledge that he was handcuffed, being that he wasn't looking back at us. So therefore, I tapped him on the shoulder to let him know that Mr. Dent was secure and he can let go of his hold.
So were you tapping him on the back so that you'd go in and do a number on Mr. Dent?
No, sir.
The purpose was to get Officer Melendez to disengage. Is that correct?
That is correct.
How much time did it take him to do so?
He did it immediately.
Now, you saw Mr. Dent when he was subdued and his handcuffs were behind his back. Did you have the ability to observe him at that point?
When I picked him up off the ground, I did.
We stop.
Second at 22:01:23.
All right, this is Officer Arnica here, correct?
That is correct.
She is the only woman on the scene. She's on the left. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, did you ever see or feel Mr. Dent submit before he had his hands cuffed behind his back?
No, I did not.
You as a police officer understand the importance of following directions. Is that right?
That is correct.
What is the reason for directing people to do certain things?
I'm going to object, Your Honor. He said he didn't hear any utterance.
Sustained.
Well, I'm asking him as a police officer. And so we're talking about other people's subjective views of what had occurred. I'm going to ask him about what a reasonable police officer would do and what you would expect.
You know, on the one hand, he wants to talk about reasonable police officers, but he doesn't want to allow the testimony related to that. This is a pure hypothetical. There is no testimony that he heard any demands made.
I'll allow, go ahead.
Would you expect that when a person is directed to put his hands behind his back, that he will do so?
Yes, sir.
All right, did you see the jailhouse video?
Yes, sir.
You saw your actions with Mr. Dent at that time, asking him to put his hands behind his back. Do you remember that?
Putting his hands behind his back? I don't recall that.
Do you recall handcuffing him once he was being transported out of the lockup?
I do.
Okay. Did he submit then?
Yes.
He didn't resist?
No, sir.
That's what you would expect somebody to do if you're giving them a lawful order, isn't that right?
Correct.
Okay. And if they don't do that, especially out on the street, can you talk to the jury about what you would feel as an officer?
As an officer, if I've instructed someone to put their hands behind their back, I told them then to arrest and they didn't, that is resisting arrest. It's passive resistance.
And if they struggle, once they say that they're not going to do what they do, if they struggle, is that still passive resistance?
No, sir.
What if they strike you in the face? Is that passive resistance?
No, sir.
What if they pull your arm down in an effort to get your arm so that you can get away? Is that passive resistance?
No, sir.
What is that?
That's more of an aggravated resisting, assaultive resisting.
And what is the danger there if the person does, in fact, get away?
Well, now you have a danger to the citizens in the community, and more importantly, now you have danger to other officers that may be arriving.
You say that you kicked Mr. Dent in the arm, is that right?
I kicked him in the right hand twice.
And why did you do that?
I had to break the hold on his shirt in order for me to pull him over so we can get his right hand out from underneath his body to handcuff him.
Now, what is the particular danger that's involved in a person who has got his hand either on his shirt or in his waist?
Any subject that has not been searched, there's a potential for a weapon to be there, a gun or a knife.
Have you had instances where you've seen that happen?
Yes.
Okay. Now, can we continue to go forward? What is the timing? I'm sorry, I didn't.
We're at 21:01:26 now.
Okay. What do you see?
What do I see? I'm sorry?
Yes, sir.
I see officers milling about. I see Officer Zeleneski, Officer Ratliff, Officer Arnica. I see a couple of troopers. I don't recall their names.
Okay. Stop, please. At this point, can you explain what a field training officer would do?
At this point, I would like to be instructing Arnica and trying to educate her on what happened at the scene.
How long had she been on the street?
On the street, approximately about 3 weeks.
Okay. Certainly not a seasoned officer.
No, sir.
All right. Would it be a function for yourself or other officers to instruct her and show her things?
Yes.
And obviously you've seen this video before.
Correct.
We're going to run through this, and what I would like to do is talk about the search of the vehicle.
Okay.
All right? Please roll it. Tell us what time it is.
22:01:48.
All right. Where is Officer Melendez?
I don't see Officer Melendez in the
Okay.
picture.
Who is that on the left-hand side that's talking to the other officers?
That would be myself, Sergeant Zapko, Officer Arnica, and two of the troopers. I don't know their names.
All right, at this point now, what would be the function of the police that are still on the scene?
Several of them should be looking for contraband, and then you're probably going to get a couple that'll search the vehicle.
Is there any protocol for who goes in the car and who does the search?
Ideally, you'd like it to be the arresting officer,
Okay. In this case, who was the arresting officer?
Officer Melendez.
But there are other people that we're going to see going into the car. Could you identify them, please?
Yes, I see Officer Arnica.
Where Where's she located?
Up here, she's at the front seat, leaning inside.
Okay.
I believe there's somebody in the front passenger seat, but I can't tell for sure.
Okay. You've identified Trooper Craig.
Yes, I do call him. That's Auxiliary Officer Loudon and Auxiliary Officer Zeleneski at the back of the vehicle.
Did you see that police officer turn and look at the windshield of the car?
The gentleman on the left?
No, I don't want to.
I'm sorry. No, I did not.
Okay. Well, police officers are aware, are they not, that when emergency lights are activated, that the video cameras are potentially there?
Yes, sir.
You didn't see that officer turn around and smile into the camera?
I did not, sir. I was looking to the left of the screen.
See anybody going in the back seat now?
I see a trooper going into the driver's side rear. Officer Arnica went back in the front seat.
Who's that without the hat on there?
Officer Zeleneski?
All right. See anybody at the other side of the car?
I do.
Okay, can you stop it here, please? All right, at this point, who was that at the back of the car, if you know?
I believe it may have been Trooper Craig.
Okay, where were you?
Actually, at this point, I believe I went back to my vehicle. It was cold outside.
Okay. Did you go in the vehicle to sit down?
Yes, sir.
Did there come a time when people approached you?
Yes.
Okay, let's roll it.
All right, 220407.
What are they doing now?
It appears they're searching the trunk for contraband weapons.
You see a whole group of people on the left-hand side of the vehicle, correct?
I do.
Somebody's using a flashlight?
Yes, sir.
All right, who's that?
That just walked up. That's one of the troopers, and again, I'm sorry, I don't recall his name.
All right, now where are you going?
I'm going back to my vehicle.
All right, this is what you were describing. This is the first time you went back to the...
Correct.
All right, prior to that, where were you?
I was actually off screen. I'm sorry, I thought I was back in my vehicle already.
Okay. You see somebody going in and coming out of the car?
I do.
All right, stop. Tell me the time.
220459.
All right. On the right-hand side, you saw a shadow of a person. Are you able to identify who that was?
No, I did not see him, sir.
Can you see the person who is now on the right-hand side of the screen?
Yes, Trooper Craig?
Is that Trooper Craig?
Yes.
Where was he in relationship to that shadow at the time that you saw the shadow?
Trooper Craig was walking back around the vehicle.
So, and whereabouts at the vehicle was Trooper Craig on
Uh,
the passenger side of the vehicle?
It appeared he was by the rear door.
And did there appear to be the shadow that was at the front door?
Correct.
Okay, let's see if we can identify who that person was. Okay, continue to roll with time.
220459.
Okay. See that person on the right?
That appears to be Officer Melendez.
All right. Now, stop. All right, I think I need you to go back, mark the time, but go back about a few seconds.
This is 220509.
Okay. Don't point at me. Okay. Now, is this possible to go frame by frame? All right. What I'd like to do at this point is to go frame by frame so that we can focus on this area right here.
Yes, sir.
What time are you?
I'm at 220443.
Yes, and so for the jury's instructions, well, I'd like the court to tell the jury that they would be able to do this frame by frame, but they won't be able to blow it up. I can't blow it up.
All right, Jerry.
So, all right. Okay, will you please do it frame by frame? I want you to concentrate on what you will identify identify as, or have identified as Officer Melendez in this particular area?
Yes, sir.
Judge, have Mr. Thomas.
Mrs. Thomas, your voice is going down. Remember what we talked about?
I did.
And when the
I'm
lights
sorry.
go down, how you do that, make them go back
You know what,
up.
I walked away from the mics, Judge.
Thank you,
Let me
please.
do it this way.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you see anything here?
I see, I believe it's the back of Trooper Craig.
We are going forward in slow motion. And you see Trooper Craig at the back of the car.
Correct.
You see him having a conversation with anybody.
He appears to be having a conversation with someone.
Okay, call out the time, please.
This is 22:04:50.
Okay, you want to take it forward like 30 seconds? Oh, here, hold on. Let's see if this one is- All right. Now I need you to do it slow motion. Okay. Continue, please, in slow motion. What time are you at?
22:04:58.
All right, who is that on the right-hand side?
Trooper Craig?
Okay, walking away from the right-hand side of the vehicle, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Were you aware at this point of whether or not any drugs had been found in the vehicle?
No, I was not.
At this point, you see movement on the right-hand side?
I do.
What do you see?
I believe that's the shoulder of Officer Melendez.
Let's continue, please. Okay, at that point, do you see anybody's face?
Oh, yes, Officer Melendez is coming in this.
React, please.
22:05:05.
Okay, Officer Melendez appears to be coming into view from the right-hand side, is that right?
That is correct.
All right, what do you see next?
It appears he has something in his hand.
Where? Will you show it with the pointer, please? Can I approach?
Ma'am.
Sure, it's the red button here. Don't point at anybody's face.
Right here, it appears to be something in his hand.
Okay. Are you using your pointer?
Oh, I'm sorry, I stopped. Right here.
Okay. And in which hand?
It appears to be his left hand.
Okay. Now, continue, please, Ms. Brennan. Mrs. Brennan. Does Officer Melendez appear to be talking to someone?
He appears to be talking to someone, yes.
In his right hand, what do you see?
In his right hand, I see what appears to be a plastic baggie.
Is that in full view of the camera?
It is.
Did you see him take it out of his pocket at any point in time?
No, I did not.
You've seen this, right?
Yes, sir.
At some point in time, he does put it in his pocket, right?
That is correct.
I want to talk to you a little bit about custody of drugs. You you say that the officer who is in charge typically is the one that does the search?
Correct.
Officer Melendez, would have he been considered the officer in charge at this time?
Yes, sir, it's his scene.
This was his arrest, his scene.
Correct.
Okay. Do police officers who seize narcotics have a chain of custody issue?
Yes, there is.
Can you explain to the jury what is chain of custody?
Chain of custody is any type of contraband, weapon, or narcotics that you take from an arrest. You must maintain that custody throughout the process until you actually place it in the evidence bag and place it into a secure locker or turn it over to supervisor.
Okay. Now, let's go real time, please. Mark out the time, and then let's go real time. And I'd like you to describe what Officer Melendez does here.
The time is 22:05:10.
Thank you.
Officer Melendez, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Appears he's walking back to my vehicle.
Where's the drugs?
They're in his right hand.
Now, were you at that vehicle?
Yes, I am.
What did you see when you were there?
Officer Melendez walks up to the driver's side where I was at and shows me the evidence that he recovered.
What if anything, did you, who was there with you?
I believe I was by myself in the vehicle.
Did you see other people there?
Yeah, there's troopers standing behind my vehicle right here. They're actually behind my vehicle, it appears.
All right, at that point, did he put those drugs in his pocket?
Yes, as he's walking away, he put them, I believe, in his right pocket.
Okay. Now, we're moving forward. Did you see Arnica close the car door?
I did.
All right, at that point, it doesn't appear as if there's any search going on the driver's side. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, do you see where Mr. Melendez is at this point?
I believe he walked back over to this side.
All right, did you see or identify anybody there at the passenger side front door at that time?
Could you play it back? But I couldn't see their faces.
If you can't, you can't. That's okay.
Okay, sir. I did not see their faces.
All right. Who's coming back?
This is myself and Officer Arnica.
Okay, why are you coming back?
I wanted Officer Arnica to see the narcotics that Officer Melendez recovered.
Did you talk to Officer Melendez?
Right here? Yes.
Yes. As a result of that discussion, did he pull the drugs out?
Yes, he does.
And the purpose for doing that?
It was a training scenario for Officer Arnica since she's never really seen the narcotics, cocaine.
Continue, please. And mark out the time.
I stopped at 22:06:57.
Okay. What do you see?
Myself and Officer Melendez talking, and excuse me. And at this time, we're still talking, and we're discussing what's going on. And then Officer Melendez right there just pulled the narcotics out of his, it looked like his cargo pocket.
Did you show it to her?
Yes, he does.
Does he ever relinquish his custody?
No, he does not.
If he did, would that be consistent or inconsistent with the chain of custody issue?
Inconsistent.
coming back?
This is myself and Officer Arnica.
Okay, why are you coming back?
I wanted Officer Arnica to see the narcotics that Officer Melendez recovered.
Did you talk to Officer Melendez?